I just want to warn you, Mr. Krabs, we're always fashionably late.
Son of a...
What happened to get the story and get out? Brought you here, the galaxy has.
Disappointment. The mismatch that can happen between expectations and reality. For example, when you're a kid on Christmas Eve and you're really hoping that Santa left you one of those cool new Wiis everyone is talking about. You start opening your presents only to discover that you actually got a DS Lite instead, and that you would never know what it feels like to swing a tennis racket. In Wii Sports. And to top it all off, you got a plain old white DS. God, I was a needy kid back then. My parents never had a crazy amount of money back then, but they always tried their best to make me happy during the holiday season, and I really appreciated it. However, the same cannot be said about feelings towards developers when they botch a new game release. The internet has had a big hand in shaping the reaction and reception to all kinds of games in the industry, whether they're small or large. The hype cycle for new games, especially AAA games, is heightened tenfold by comment sections and reaction videos, and expectations can get pretty high for a number of reasons. Maybe everyone fell for the old E3 trailer trick for the 40th year in a row and got upset when the final release of a game gets a graphical downgrade. Apparently, we live in a world where a puddle can cause mass hysteria. Maybe the developers under-delivered on a project that was on everyone's minds for way too long. Disappointment is around every corner, and no, I'm not just using this as an excuse to air some dirty laundry I have some specific set of games. Whether it's in the form of a big release not living up to expectations, no, I'm not talking about The Last of Us 2, dear God, or your own little personal wishlist turning out half-baked, we've all had to face the reality that this isn't the game I wanted. This isn't the game that I wanted. This isn't the... I want to take a look at a bunch of different titles that missed the mark because what screams holiday cheer more than a lump of coal in the form of software? Bungie started... I always forget that this was Bungie's doing. Now, I understand that the big guy upstairs is probably the reason that these two entries were plagued with DLC, and that the first game was already ambitious enough before it came out, but to say that it got a mixed reception would be an understatement. Some praised it, and some thought that there was an entire half of a game missing. 92% of people most certainly did not like this game. Some games just don't live up to the hype that was put on them before release, and you're left with a game that's kind of underwhelming, which is almost worse than just being a bad game. For me, Crackdown 3 is the poster child of underwhelming releases. Sumo Digital developed this thing for like 20 years and it got delayed more times than I can count. It was said to be a return to form for Crackdown fans, and it was going to be huge. Destructible environments and huge new map were promised. Hell, Microsoft even got Terry Crews to be the face of the game for most of its dev cycle, and they made some wacky promos that echoed his Old Spice commercials. It's too bad that the game is just so dull, it feels like an Xbox 360 game. Crackdown was never groundbreaking, but this game is a chore, kind of like Yooka-Laylee, another title that reminds me of what could have been. I don't really think anyone hates the game or anything, I know I don't, but it's super easy to see why no one talks about it anymore. It started life as a Kickstarter aiming to bring Banjo-Kazooie style collectathons back to the forefront, with some former Rare employees taking the helm. It crushed its goal and caught the eyes of a ton of people, and people waited patiently to get their hands on it. It was fine, there was nothing special about the game and it felt like a lackluster imitation of Banjo-Kazooie at times. I played Banjo for the first time after playing Yooka-Laylee and I immediately understood what everyone was saying. I guess that's 2 points on the board for nostalgic indie game looking to bring back a reimagined classic through Kickstarter only to fall flat on its face to be forgotten after 15 minutes with nothing to show for it. Mega Man, you are not. At the very least, these games still have some fun to be had and aren't a complete waste of your time, unlike Destiny with jetpacks over here. I sense a change of topic coming. I'd like to throw the next couple of games under the dumpster fire category, if you don't mind. Games that exist only to let down those who've had the displeasure of popping said game into its respective console. Or clicking the A button if you downloaded it because you have no respect for physical media. Sorry, I don't make the rules. Now, there are quite a few contenders in this pile. You have Devil May Cry 2, which slapped fans in the face, making the sequel too easy and betraying some of the things that made the first game fun. Riveting. There's also Alien Colonial Marines, which should have been a love letter to the movie franchise. Instead, it's a comedy for all the wrong reasons. I would be misrepresenting the legacy of dumpster fires if I didn't mention Sonic 06 at some point. I don't really have anything to add, it's just funny how busted this game is. I played it a little bit as a kid, probably because I was stupid. this game makes Shadow the Hedgehog look decent. Man, I was a really stupid kid, cause this was high on my list. Now some of these games were just one-off occurrences that were fixed later in their series, but Nintendo as a whole has had their fair share of fuck-ups over the years. They've made bad decision making their mission statement, and I think Star Fox Zero is a perfect representation of this problem. Now, from a technical aspect, this game is perfectly fine, but this game really shows where Nintendo's priorities are. The problem comes from the motion controls. The mandatory motion controls. You have to constantly look down at your tablet screen and aim by waving your arms around motion controls. God, it's like there's a fun game just sitting right in front of you and Nintendo doesn't want you to have fun playing it. It's not even a new Star Fox experience, they just remade Star Fox 64 again. Exactly what fans wanted after 12 years. Alright, I can feel my blood pressure rising, so we're gonna move on to me airing my dirty laundry about some titles that deserve life sentences on the Five Below game shelves because I lied earlier. You know what's my favorite feature in a game about throwing things? Not being able to throw things. Oh, I'm sorry, you can throw throwable items. This game is so frustrating because it tricks you into feeling like you're playing a Dead Rising game, but it reminds you at every corner that a lot of the life has been sucked dry from this project. Dead Rising 4 is a shell of a game. They turned Frank into a grumpy middle-aged Deadpool, and all of his lines are awful.
Hell of a team you've assembled.
The story takes itself so seriously, and it destroys the goofy, over-the-top nature of the series. It just comes across as generic and forgettable as opposed to something that you and the game can laugh at together. So many of the story missions have you do this repetitive, mind-numbing investigation and clues horseshit from the Batman Arkham games, but it's worse here because all you do is just look around in the camera mode until you highlight a clue. This isn't fun! The inventory system's fucked. Sure, it's more streamlined, but let's be real. Has that word ever been used in a positive context? It just feels like they tried to fix something that wasn't broken. Everything you pick up goes into one of 4 mini inventories that are separated by item type. This means that you're in a perpetual state of shit, which pocket did I put my keys in again? Anytime you have to equip something. And they added an arc to the throwing. Why? Why can't you throw everything? You see that? That's the model for the axe in Dead Rising 2, but the in-game model is completely different. Oh, this just keeps getting better. And why does Capcom have 2 different zombie franchises? Look, the first couple Dead Rising games aren't the most interesting titles out there, but they're dumb fun, and they've been pretty consistent at being dumb fun up until this point. They were like a better version of Crackdown. I'm pretty sure Dead Rising 4 killed any chance of this series continuing, and they switched the sprinting button to the opposite shoulder, so clearly Capcom Vancouver knows what they're doing. But at the very least, best case scenario, people are just indifferent to this game. I don't really hear anyone singing its praises. BioShock Infinite, on the other hand, is a title that I can't seem to understand the amount of praise that it gets. I feel like a crazy person when I talk about this game with others. It's like we're talking about 2 completely different titles. What's next? Wii Sports isn't a genre-dividing experience that deserves to be on every console a la Skyrim? BioShock Infinite is stale bread, and not the kind that gets left out to make French toast the next morning. Why did they feel the need to turn BioShock into a cover shooter? Why can you only hold 2 weapons when most of the weapons aren't that strong to begin with? Why do they feel the need to limit your ammo in an action game? Limiting your ammo in a decrepit, abandoned city makes sense, thematically and in the gameplay. It doesn't make sense in a sprawling, populated world where an ongoing rebellion against the government is taking place. There's virtually nothing in this title that makes me want to see it through. The enemy variety consists of reject models from the Dishonored games, Robo Washington and Friends, and Old Man. The story isn't any better. Now, the first game's story isn't great, but they do a good job of building the world and setting the atmosphere. In Infinite, you were Jesus the whole time. It just shocked me how different this game was from the previous 2. However, I can't say that I get shocked anytime a new Star Wars game misses the mark. This is a franchise that's had all kinds of entries in the video game landscape under hundreds of different genres. Exhibit A, this exists on a console. You ever play chess and you just really wished your rook looked like Yoda sitting on a log? Do I have the game for you? This is just Fire Emblem. All this is to say that for every great Star Wars title, there's probably 10 more waiting around the corner that have let someone down. That someone is me. I've been hurt a lot, and I don't think I'll ever learn to love again. It's disappointing that this game never came out. It's disappointing that this game was a complete dumpster fire. It's disappointing that this game was just shy of being great. But you know what really slaps my ass? Star Wars The Force Unleashed 2. Here we are, what I consider to be my most disappointing game of all time. Or as it's better known in my household, the reason I shit with the lights off now. You know how I can tell this game sucks 3 metric tons of ass through a coffee straw? It disappointed me upon finishing my first playthrough when it came out, when I was still in fucking middle school. It was my most anticipated game that year. I spent my hard-earned money on this game. I even bought the collector's edition, which I want to say ran for, I don't know, $80? You ever hold more than like 20 bucks in your hand as a kid? It felt powerful. And I threw it away on this car crash. Here is a game that, no, you don't get to start with the fucking Star Wars theme and an opening crawl, you miserable excuse for a game. This is unfair. This is a disaster on all fronts. And yes, I know about its short dev cycle. The Force Unleashed 2 doesn't try. Not once, at any point, does this game try to be anything more than a cash grab. Let's start with the level select. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 9 levels. Okay, that's not too bad. I could go for a couple more, but I bet they're big and they have tons of things to find and explore. This is a sequel after all. No, the 3 sections of the second level count as 1 level each. And this level right here where you go visit the talking raisin, it's a cutscene, so that leaves us with 6 levels. Now, you're probably thinking, yeah, but they're pretty long. Yeah, they are pretty long. That's the problem. They go on forever. They never end. That's where the gameplay comes in. Watch me take on the different enemies in this game.
That took the steam out of it. Keep it up.
You fight this one mini-boss with the shield so many times, in every level it borders on insanity. And it's the same QuickTime event every time. There's no variation, there's no combos. You either wail on everything or fry it to a crisp until it's dead. They don't even try to hide the collectibles in the game. So many of them are placed directly in your path, so you have to go out of your way to miss them. Playing this game makes you want to go outside. I know. The final battle with Vader is just like the rest, except this time, you can only mash the buttons when the game wants you to. Okay, who approved that zoom? That has to be a joke. And he's throwing the clones now. The story's no better. The first game's story was simple and to the point, but it let you get attached to the characters a bit, even if the writing isn't spectacular. This is just some random asshole jumping around, messing a whole bunch of people's days up. All he does is wonder whether or not he's a clone and goes to a bunch of places that don't matter. You can't get attached to anything. It feels so hollow. I don't care what happens. See, look, the final cutscene lets you choose whether you kill Vader or set him free. Wait, what is this? Damn it, did I choose the good ending? I don't even get to see the way that they decide to crash this sinking ship in all its glory? Fine. I hate this game anyway. Don't play this game. It barely meets the requirements of being a game. I mean, it works. In the same way a fucking unsharpened, half-chewed pencil with a missing eraser works. You know what? While I'm here, why don't I take a minute to really ruffle some feathers about some other games who made a couple of missteps or two, huh? Let's start with the Fallout games. The New Vegas Strip is a dull blemish on an otherwise amazing game. And you? No. Amazing Spider-Man 2 walked so that Spider-Man PS4 could swing. Borderlands 3's story is an awful waste of time. On the topic of campaigns, Halo 5 has the worst Halo campaign, hands down. I feel nothing watching this cutscene. I wish your puzzles were better, I wish you had more puzzles, and I wish you didn't exist. The first one was fine. And you know what? I don't even care that most of these games are sequels. Call it a cop-out all you want. Crackdown 2 is so much better than Crackdown 1, I will die on this hill. I haven't played Crackdown 2 in years. Let me give it a go. It's alright. But it is better than the first game. I will not let that go. Jeez, this isn't what the holidays are all about. The world's already on fire and I'm sitting here complaining. You know, even if I didn't always get what I wanted during the holidays when I was younger, especially if it wasn't the exact game that I wanted, I would still spend a lot of time with those games that I did get and I would end up enjoying them. There are quite a few titles that I neglected to mention that I've come to have some fun with over the years, even if they didn't knock my socks off or anything. Like The Amazing Spider-Man 2. It's really not that great, but I got it as a birthday gift one year and I beat it in one sitting. That was a really good time. As far as Star Wars games go, there's this old Clone Wars game on the Wii where you can have lightsaber duels with a bunch of the big characters from the show. It's janky as hell, but I loved swinging that Wiimote around as a kid. Expectations can become unrealistic so fast, and a lot of the time, excitement for a new thing can get you carried away. Sometimes you just have to appreciate what you have and make your own fun where you can find it. Unless you're playing with Force Unleashed 2, please, no kid deserves to go through that experience. My past self really approves that statement. I hope everyone's holidays went really well. I know this video's a little late with the whole Christmas theme. Anyways, here's to the new year. And fuck Destiny.